the Office of the Inspector General releasing last week a watchdog report about J6. This report from the Office of the Inspector General would indicate that there were up to 26 FBI informants that were on the scene that day. Stephen A. Smith, who is never at a loss for words, had some things to say about this, and Stephen A. is getting fed up with the Democrats.
The news comes amidst a bombshell report from the Justice Department that revealed the FBI had at least 26 confidential informants on the ground when the Capitol was stormed on January 6, 2021. The report says most of the informants engaged in illegal activity during the chaos. Upon hearing news of the report, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance posted the following on X, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago," end quote. My big issue is that I'm really, really sick and tired of every time I turn around finding something else that the Democrats have lied about or downplayed or misrepresented along the way. I mean, I see Republicans like Megyn Kelly or Officer Tatum or Candace Owens or, the Sean Hannitys of the world. You know what I'm getting tired of? To the Democratic Party. You know what I'm getting really pissed off about? I'm getting really ticked off at every time they open their mouth about something pertaining to y'all, they seem right.
They seem right. Stephen A., you're getting there, buddy. But they are right. They seem right because they are right. And it's just hitting you. The greatest woke movement of all is when you wake up and realize that the woke movement has been selling you a bill of goods and it's bullshit. And so here we are. I said up to 26, at least 26 that they admit to. A minimum of 26. So we'll see. I thought it was supposed to be 0. So, but then again, I thought that ABC News was all about the facts. Remember when Donald Trump debated Kamala Harris and he was getting fact checked in real time? He couldn't say anything without David Muir and Lindsey Davis chiming in and correcting him before pivoting to Kamala Harris. Kamala's out there talking about the Very Fine People hoax. She's talking about all kinds of other things that are demonstrably false, debunked. They didn't fact check her once. But again, Whoopi Goldberg says, hey, look, you can trust us. We work for ABC News. We read legal notes. When we say something wrong, we're held to the highest of standards. Well, guess what? ABC News has settled lawsuit with Donald Trump. They're going to pay him $15 million because George Stephanopoulos said that he was, quote unquote, liable for rape 10 times while he was doing a segment with Representative Nancy Mace. Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse, not rape. Words matter. And George Stephanopoulos and ABC are finding that out. They have issued an apology to Donald Trump as part of this settlement. And now $15 million are going to be paid out. Sonny Hostin is getting off pretty light with these legal notes. Maybe she needs to watch it. Some of these things that she's getting noted for, it could be worse than a note here. And George Stephanopoulos is gone from X now. Quits X. He's out. Peace out. $15 million. Remember, again, these are the people who caution you about dangerous misinformation. Elon said it best. You are the media now. Now, can you trust everything that you see on X? Of course not. Use your head. There's going to be false information everywhere. But if you go to X, at least you're going to see information circulating that is not just the preferred narrative of the people who are in charge, because the mainstream media has functionally become an arm of the Democratic Party. And now we're seeing the misinformation. Remember when I talked about how free speech was my issue leading up to the election? Free speech was the number one issue that moved me away from the Democratic Party. There were others, But that's my number one thing, because I've said it time and again. If you're in a situation where you're looking at a conflict between two factions, in almost every case, if not every case, but virtually all the time, you're going to find more virtue in the people who are not suppressing speech and not suppressing information. And the left used to be pro free speech. Let it all hang out, say whatever you want. That's a huge part of freedom. I always believed that. Well, I didn't change, but they did. They became the party of censorship. They became the party of trying to control everything that was said. And if it went outside their subjective belief system, they shut it down. We saw it happen with Twitter all the time. Elon Musk purchasing Twitter might be the most consequential action in American society in the 21st century. In fact, it probably is. I think it flipped this election. And this election might have been our last opportunity to slow the crazy train down and stop it before we arrived at a place like what we're already starting to see in the United Kingdom now, where people are showing up at your house because they don't like something that you posted on Facebook. Because in their unerring, godlike estimation, you have said something terribly wrong. Their subjective opinion. Tim Walsh saying that there's no guarantee to free speech when it comes to hate speech and misinformation. And I said at the time, well, my concern here is who decides what is hate speech and who decides what is misinformation. And what you will find as the facts continue to trickle in is the people who wanted to be the grand poobahs, who wanted to be the dictators of what actual approved speech is, are the most full of shit of anybody. And there's your problem. Our parents were full of shit when we were kids, when they told us that Santa Claus was real. I hope that I'm not breaking anything here for anybody. If you're watching this program with your 7-year-old this morning, well, sorry. But at the time, it meant everything to us. You're goddamn right, every eye was glued to that television set. Christmas was hanging in the fucking balance. That was nail biter right there. A lot of pressure for a reindeer. I always thought this is a prepubescent reindeer, and now he's got to save Christmas. I mean, good Lord. He's probably a smoker now. Probably. Can you imagine Rudolph's therapy bills? Well, Doc, I don't know. When I was a little kid, Santa came to me and said that Christmas was going to be ruined for millions of children if I didn't step in and pinch hit, even though they'd been making fun of me and treating me like shit. Up until that point, Rudolph really was a hero. Caitlin Clark is a hero, but the WNBA players and owners can't figure it out. Simplest thing in the world. They've been looking at 2+2 ever since she entered the league, and they can't arrive at the conclusion of 4. It's pretty bizarre, but Caitlin Clark being named Athlete of the Year by Time Magazine is breaking some brains, and one of the brains that has been broken is the owner of the Washington Mystics. Let's take a listen.
It has taken the WNBA almost 28 years to get to the point where we are now. And this year, something clicked with the WNBA, and it's because of the draft of the players that came in. It's just not Caitlin Clark. It's Reese. We have so much talent out there that has been unrecognized. And I don't think we can just pin it on one player.
There has been, this phrase has been couch, hasn't it? The Caitlin Clark effect. Why
all right,
do you
let's
think
pause this, Tim. She's all right. Look, she said that why couldn't the entire league be recognized? Look, this isn't your kid's fucking T-ball team, lady. This isn't the grandchild's T-ball team. We're not giving everybody a participation trophy here for the 2024 WNBA season because we all know what happened. She's sitting here saying, it was all these great players that came into the league, and she was able to mention Angel Reese. I didn't hear her going past Angel Reese. Did anybody else spring to mind? Who was the third amazing rookie in the 2024 season. I'll hang up and listen.
Has been the case.
Well, I want to be very diplomatic about this. It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. I'm going to be very honest. I feel really bad because I've seen so many players of color that are equally as talented, and they never got the recognition
All right, let's pause
that
this.
they should have.
Let's pause this. Who have you seen come along in recent years? Anybody that plays basketball that's female, like Caitlin Clark? Injecting the race into it right here. Okay, why? Why is race the thing? We've talked about it on this program. The NBA is full of great black players. It's a predominantly black league. It's doing just fine. I mean, you can say the ratings are down and whatever, but look, the money is there. Compared to the WNBA, the NBA is successful beyond your wildest comprehension. And it doesn't seem that the public has rejected black players at all, but we're told again, somehow, because these are women, I guess, I'm trying to follow logic. You know, NFL, most popular league there is, full of great black players. Where's the problem? You know, are there people that aren't consuming the NFL because there aren't enough exciting white players? NBA, look, if basketball fans in this country were waiting for a great white American player, they've been waiting for a long time. Who was the last great white American basketball player? John Stockton, Chris Mullin? Who's the best American-born Caucasian basketball player in this century? Kevin Love? It's probably Kevin Love. You think Kevin Love has been blowing any skirts up during the course of his career? NBA compared to the WNBA, you could circle the earth 1,000 times and you wouldn't get to how much more successful the NBA is than the WNBA. But let's pin it on the fact that the WNBA has been unpopular because its players were black, even though it absolutely flunks the logic test in every regard. I don't see great black players in other sports being rejected in TV ratings, in attendance, you name it. I don't see it happening. But let's let her finish. Let's let her have her say.
And I think right now it is time for that to happen. So last night we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover and said the WNBA is the league of the year because of all the talent that we have? Because when you just keep singling out one player, it creates hard feelings. And so now you're starting to hear stories of racism within the WNBA.
All right,
I don't want to hear.
We're kindergartners. The WNBA is full of kindergartners. It's like you can't. Remember, you couldn't bring Valentines to school unless you brought a Valentine for everybody. If your mom gives you snacks or treats to take to school, you got to bring enough to give all of your classmates. All right, well, that's probably a good policy when you're 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. Let's give everybody a shot here. We don't want anybody to be mistreated or overlooked. These are grown professional athletes acting like babies. And that's an owner of a professional sports franchise who is agreeing that these grown women should be treated like babies. It's absolutely ridiculous. Jemele Hill and Riley Gaines, and you can take a look at this real quickly. I don't know. Caitlin Clark put a lot of money in that lady's pocket. I can tell you that. I don't think that they were moving to larger venues for anybody's games other than the Indiana Fever. Maybe the reason that she was on the cover is because she's the only player that could have potentially given you a crowd that could have filled up a 20,000 plus seat arena. That might be one reason. Let's put every player on the cover. Let's get everybody in here. Every kid gets a trophy in the WNBA. Let's continue with Jemele Hill and Riley Gaines. They're having what I would call a kerfuffle. If we can get this up on the screen, I don't even remember how it started. Riley Gaines had posted, no one was asking Caitlin Clark to position herself as a right-wing hero. All she needed to do was remain neutral. She's a phenom who inspires countless young girls to play and achieve. So I still have great admiration for her, but she missed the mark on this one, referring to her comments. Again, this all goes back to Caitlin Clark acknowledging that she has white privilege. Scott Jennings saying that she was bending a knee to the woke movement, that she's been captured by the woke. Jemele Hill, who has never missed a conversation of this kind of nature, ready to interject at any moment, says, you holler all the time about supporting and protecting women, and yet the moment that Caitlin Clark expresses appreciation and respect for the black women in the WNBA, suddenly you're acting like a disappointed parent. Child, you could not tell on yourself any louder. And of course, that didn't set well with Riley Gaines. I feel like I'm coming home after school and telling somebody what happened. And then Riley said, white privilege in the WNBA is literally hilarious. Maybe you're like Sonny Hostin and think Caitlin also has tall privilege, pretty privilege, and straight privilege. There's lots of black players in the WNBA I love and respect too, but I don't admire them because they're black. I admire them for their game. That's the difference. And then Jemele said, what did Jemele say? Oh, and here we go. I'm not going to go through all of this, but she says, you're missing the point intentionally. White privilege is real. Sports is no exception. And then we go on and back and forth we go. Riley eventually responding to this missive that I'm just too weary to get through, saying Caitlin Clark's race and sexuality make her problematic. Clark isn't the problem, she's the solution. Being a long-standing professional race baiter must be so exhausting. It's becoming exhausting to listen to the argument and the debate, and you know where I'm close to getting? I'm close to getting to where the international streaming star resides, and that is Nashville, Tennessee geographically, but spiritually, that's in the zone of not giving a flying fuck about the WNBA. And Ron, I know that due to journalism and trying to cover these things, we talk about it, but I gotta believe that there are a lot of fans out there that if this continues and we get into this season and it's part 2 of bickering back and forth, racism, no, not racism, this is race, no, it's not racism. I think there's a lot of people that are going to throw their hands up and they're going to say, I don't fucking care if she is that good. There's other entertainment that I can consume.
You would be correct, Ricky. So Saturday night, I was literally shaking when the Heisman Foundation announced that Travis Hunter would be singled out as the best player in college football. All I could think about was all the other college football players and how they must have felt being like that this guy gets all the accolades and they get nothing. It had to feel terrible for them. I mean, that's what that owner Johnson basically just said when she said that did she say their feelings would be hurt? Is that what, remind me, what did she say?
I believe she said that there would be hurt feelings when one person gets singled out. Feelings are, well, we shouldn't have an MVP award.
No.
We shouldn't have a Rookie of the Year award. We probably shouldn't have all-star teams because if you miss the all-star team, that might hurt your feelings. We shouldn't recognize any individual outstanding performances because there are other children that if they don't get recognized, it could affect them. That's the logic that she's putting out there, Ron.
It's like you watch that and you just can't believe that you're watching it. But I'm gonna go back to what I always go back to, Ricky. The media is at fault. Did you see? I don't even know who the woman was that was interviewing her. She was just doing the whole, yeah. Like, why will they not challenge these people when they say stupid things? They just won't do it, Ricky.
I just think when you look, I've said it before. I'm getting tired of having to say it because I think it's so obvious. Racism. Racism is real. When it happens, there should be no tolerance for it. We should all despise it. But that doesn't mean that you can just go find it in places that it doesn't exist. And that's what we've seen happen with Caitlin Clark. These things being pinned to race when they don't have anything to do with race, and they have everything to do with the fact that she was an incredible player and the WNBA can't handle the prosperity. They can't handle the prosperity. Do you remember, Ron, look, we're both in our 50s. We remember when Larry Bird got drafted and came into the NBA. I remember watching the 1979 NCAA final with Michigan State and Indiana State. That was the beginning of the Magic Bird rivalry that they carried on for the entire decade of the 80s. All right, It was magic. Do you remember the great, and the NBA was not doing well. Let's just do a Professor Cobb history lesson here.
Can I interrupt real quick?
The NBA, yeah.
Okay, you always steal my thunder, so I just want to put this out there. Ricky, I remember watching the NBA Finals on tape delay at 11:30 at night when I was a kid. Can you imagine that?
First one that I ever watched was 1979. This was the season before Magic and Bird entered the league. Supersonics and Bullets. And it came on after the local evening news.
The local news, yeah.
On tape delay, all right?
Yes.
The NBA was struggling, and people who don't remember the 70s don't remember that, okay? The NBA was, in better shape than the WNBA, which can't exist without being subsidized. But the NBA was scuffling, all right? They needed Magic and Bird. And they got, the WNBA got Lambeer and Jordan. But Magic and Bird were equally talented, and, they were toe-to-toe for the entire 80s. I don't remember there being any discussion. I can't remember. I've heard tons of these guys interviewed. I've heard Dr. J interviewed, right? I've heard all of the great black players of the 70s and 80s, right? Dominique Wilkins. We could just go through the list. Players who were instrumental in the 70s and 80s. I don't recall any of them having anything to say about Larry Bird being white, other than maybe like, holy shit, like that white boy can play. If you ever seen the highlights of when Larry Bird put up 60 against the Atlanta Hawks, there were players at the end of the Atlanta Hawks bench. You can go look this up. When Larry buries a three late in that game and they literally fall off the bench because even though they're on the other team, they were just like having fun watching Larry Bird light up their own team. Go back and go find that. Go to YouTube and look at that. Larry Bird did not get this Mean Girls, sniffy treatment that like, oh my gosh, they only like him because he's white. No, the NBA was smart. They embraced him along with Magic, and they built something. And then when Jordan came into the league, Jordan was more popular than any of them. And Ron, this was 40 years ago. Michael Jordan got drafted 40 years ago, came into the league, had the greatest endorsed product that there's ever been with the Air Jordans. 40 years ago, America proved that it was more than ready to welcome and celebrate and love great black athletes. It has nothing to do with why the WNBA is unpopular. It has nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
The quality of the product hasn't been good enough. He came down the chimney with care. He ate your cookies, drank one of your dad's beers, woke you up, dropped a 3 on you, said that was your present, and drove off in an old pickup truck. It's Saint Hick from French Lick.
French Lick.
Your present was a lesson. You got to guard me better next time, hombre. 3-pointers, man. Look, listen, if Larry Bird played today, he would be even more dangerous because he would be able to take advantage of his long distance shooting proficiency. Last night, new NBA record. I hate to celebrate it because I don't think it's necessarily a good thing that needs to be celebrated. But last night, the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, and look at there's the Splash Brothers on different teams. It doesn't look right, Ron.
Nope.
48 3-pointers made. Dallas 21 for 41. The Warriors 27 for 54. I did a little bit of math, Ron. You can see there 48 combined 3-pointers made. But 95 3-pointers attempted in the game and 95 2-pointers attempted in the game. So here we are. We're close to the world of 50-50 3-pointers and 2-pointers. And I don't know, dude. I can't take a lot more of it. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills beat the Detroit Lions 48-42 in a shootout. And this is the second week in a row that the Bills have put over 40 points on the board. They lost to the Rams the previous week. But Josh Allen bolstering his case to be the NFL MVP this year, Ron.
Oh, I don't think he needs to bolster his case. Like, he's the MVP. Like, how can he not be? Like, I cannot remember the last time, and I guess I do remember, it was probably a couple years ago, Patrick Mahomes. My goodness, is Josh Allen fun to watch play football. Like, every single offensive play, you just are watching and going, what's this dude going to do next? They showed a still up there with Kincaid catching an apparent touchdown pass, and it was off of a Josh Allen chest pass over a defender, and they called it back because of holding. But he is fun to watch. He is a joy to watch. Like, when you watch him play, you see how much fun he's having, and he's so good. Like, I don't see how anybody else can win the MVP at this point. Like, it's all his. Unless
the Bills are
interesting. No, unless they do the right thing and just give the NFL the MVP, just the whole NFL.
Yeah. Do you think Jerry Jones is going to speak out at some point and say, well, a lot of our players are offended because when you single out one player for a most valuable, say that they're the most valuable, feelings get hurt. I just wish that every player in the National Football League could have been on the cover. Do you think? No, you don't, because he's a grown-ass man. You want to be respected in sports? Stop acting like women. That's my advice to the WNBA. You're acting like women. This is sports. We welcome you. We'll watch your sports league. But come on now. Let's toughen up just a little bit.
By the way, I'm with you. I can't wait to see Tennessee go to Ohio either. If I'm them, I am bringing the largest orange flag with a white T on it that's ever been created.
That's bad sportsmanship.
It's not bad sportsmanship. It's what one does when one wins in The Ohio State University. That's what one does. I would. Wouldn't you bring the largest flag and just put it right there on your sideline for them to look at the entire game to know?
Rich, have you heard that Tennessee fans are like invading the Horseshoe? They had to make a statement in Ohio. Hey, stop selling your tickets because all Tennessee people are buying them.
All right, so we got a big one coming up, Ronnie. Tennessee making their way to Columbus, first round of the college football playoff, and Ohio State has struggled against SEC teams in bowl games. They are a career, the Ohio State University is 2-13 against SEC schools in bowl games. That is the worst record in college football history against the SEC. And Ryan Day is 0-3 against the SEC in bowl games. They host Tennessee in the first round. Josh Heupel, Tennessee coming in. You heard Rich Eisen. He said, bring the biggest, most obnoxious, honking orange flag that you got. And if you beat Ohio State, plant that fucker right there, just like Michigan did. Okay, two things, Ron. One, how would you feel about that? And two, what's your level of confidence that you guys are going to get a win that you obviously have to have?
Well, you know how I feel about it. Win the game, and then you don't have to worry about it, right? I mean, they're not going to plant the flag because it'll be a felony, according to what was that dumb representative?
I believe that is the
Williams,
the proposed OHIO
sportsmanship rule. Embarrassing
law. Sportsmanship rule. Yeah.
Just win the game and you don't have to worry about it. Level of confidence. I think that we are a better team than Tennessee. I think that if Ohio State doesn't play like we did against Michigan, which is trying to run the ball, if we take advantage of all the elite talent we have, then I think we should win easily. But I don't have confidence that that's how the game's going to get called by our offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly. So I don't know, Ricky. I really don't know. That's why you're not going to.
Well, Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are coaching for their jobs.
Well, that's why.
I don't think there's any question about it.
That's why I said last week. I said if you make me bet, I bet Ohio State wins by double digits because Day is coaching for his life. He has to empty the clip. Like, he cannot screw around. Like, he's got to utilize all that talent that we have and not just run the ball into the line on first down and then the short side of the field on second down and then desperately try to get a 3rd and 7. Like, if he does that, we're going to get beat. But I can't imagine he's going to do that. Like, he has got to leave it all out on the field. If he does that, I think we're going to win. But I guess we'll find out, won't we?
Head over to shop.outkick.com and check out the OutKick holiday sale here. If you would, you can get all kinds of good swag. The options are vast and, look sharp out there at your holiday parties this year. Again, that is shop.outkick.com. You can class it up at outkick.com. It's shop.outkick.com. Sale code HOLIDAY.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to outkick.com where you can watch the full episode.